think the Flores is also a great idea, no longer having to worry about the Rotero drone, not only gathering information, but flushing players away from shields, forcing them back, and destroying that utility all in the same fell swoop.
Interesting aspect for the defensive bans as well, with Ying and Flores being removed. Wildcard Aces had a fairly stock standard ban set when they played up against Silly Geese on this map. I don't think anything's going to change here. They'll ban out the Azami as they did last time. Last remaining ban is either going to be a Fenrir, a Solus, or a Valkyrie. That's usually how things work. On the off chance that Taken Kings hate Mira, they'll remove the Mira and not want to play against her on the bottom floor. But instead, they will target ban the living crap out of Wildcard Aces, and to the point where the last time we saw the Wildcard Aces play, you'll never believe who was playing on that ward.
I'm just amazed. Scoob also likes Warden. Scoob pretty much only locked in Warden when it came to their defense on Bank. In fact, made like 3 runouts through Office Window for success every single time to at least 1 kill, if not more, and a return back to sites. The ban on Warden for a map like Oregon, maybe the Taken Kings don't have Scoob locking it in for this map, and they say, hey, just please don't ban it for our map too. Don't listen to the casters in the booth. They have no idea what they're talking about. I'm not too sure, but the Warden ban is very interesting, especially if it is a target ban, because more specifically, even though Warden is not allowed, a zombie got banned out, which means Solus, which means Valkyrie, which means Mirror. All 3 are available. It's really a dangerous game on the defense. 4 conceivably must-banned operators on the same side. It means you get to have, you pick the worst 2 essentially to get out of the game. And the Taken King said, screw that, we just pick the worst one and throw another one into the bush.
The interesting aspect of this, by the way, Warden was banned in map 3 of the Wildcard Silly Geese series. That was on Bank, basically directly countering Bry, who played a crap ton of Warden on Cafe and was the main reason they could not find a way in. Well, granted, Riot and Twizzler combined for 28 kills in 10 rounds because, you know, why not? But just an interesting aspect, to say the very least, of how the bans have gone. Defensive bans have been a little bit more contentious than anything else. We've seen Twitch before. We've seen, well, we saw the Warden here. Variety, to say the very least. But into the game itself, Wildcard on the attacking side, Taken King starting on the bottom floor, and running both the Fenrir and the Smoke as a combination, with Ella being played here for Vipoa, and he's going to get naded. There's no way you live here. Yep. He's so dead. I don't know what the heck it hit, unless it hit a hit.
It hit him.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay.
He just chucked it like a baseball, and he ate that one at the end of the day. One TV note player from the side of the Wildcard Aces. They have gone pretty much unscathed, bar Twizzler's unfortunate nap he's forced to take right now at this point. A cheeky nade toss that claps Vipoa in the head before detonating right after the fact. Burnt turkey off screen for the Fenrir is also removed from the equation. That means you only have to worry about the currently active utility for those dread mines. And most of those are really procced after the fact once you've gathered a little bit of information, and more so towards quarters on halls that you're really expecting the Aces to push through. I think for the Wildcard Aces, they found a lot of success here, but the problem still lies that they haven't made a safe way down into the basement, but they've cleared out the first and second. With only 90 seconds having elapsed, that is a full minute and a half at which they can continue to burn away util after util for the Taken Kings, and with the detonation of that Nitro cell from Wumbo, who was unable to escape from the nade tossed out at the same exact moment, the Taken Kings, unfortunately, are taking a fat L here, as it is a 5 versus 2. And you can't really do much with a Smoke that still, yes, has 3 canisters, but a 416C is the only other thing their team really has in their hands.
They're taking L's, they're taking shrapnel, and a whole lot of deaths in the early stages of this one. Wildcard Ace is a 5v2 with 50 seconds. Scoob dispersing themselves, having to try and play with Jetcon, who's just taken a decent bit of damage, and it actually found a kill. A follow-up now for Scoob makes this a 3v2, and you can see an attempt from Jetcon to try and drop down Riot, but Scoob now left alone in a 1 versus 3. Still has all 3 Toxic Babes, but their position certainly known with that Dokebi call. It may not matter, though. Looking for a first, he'll swing for it. He'll swing for the attempted second. Bino almost caught sprinting, misses the opportunity. Second time around, though, will capitalize. And a round, albeit a difficult one, at least more difficult than it should have been, in favor of Wildcard.
A great attempt for the Taken Kings to try to crawl that one back. Maybe a bit over-aggressive, trying to stare in through E-Box Hatch. Your responsibility there is, yes, to lock down the attempt in through that doorway. And you do have to have the constant fear that a player is going to swing Freezer door and frame and just have the opportunity for that shirt first and foremost, but that's where you need to trust in your teammate to have already locked down that freezer approach. They created hole walls in the soft wall connected to freezer for a reason, but the issue with the Taken Kings having such a man disadvantage, they were having to grow over reliant on watching two sight lines, and unfortunately they're a bit too wide to watch simultaneously, and that draws the sights away. You kind of have to aggress there, so I can't fault them too much for that. But defensively, they fall short on arguably the best objective here for a map of Oregon. They're gonna have to move up to the second floor. They don't want to reattempt the basement. The Wildcard Aces really just tore them apart too early in that round. Change up their game plan, try to go and reevaluate that site maybe next, or maybe even the one after that, and just try to think things round after round without growing complacent.
Something breeding complacency that doesn't belong in a game of Rainbow Six Siege. They're not on the bottom floor, but, you know, the word complacent really brought that one back for me. Reminiscing about the good times of the soundboard. I think you actually still have it, if I recall correctly.
I don't know if I do, actually.
You
I have
don't?
Crazy. Yeah,
Oh,
I have
okay.
Crazy. I was Crazy once. I have that on my soundboard right now, but I think I got rid of that one.
Okay.
You gotta have something for BattleBit remastered, you know?
Oh, okay. That's entirely fair. I understand that one. Wildcard Aces into the second round, making some changes to their attacking lineup. Most being the same, but they switch out the Buck and will bring in Twizzler on the Amaru. I was gonna say they also switch who's playing for more primary hard breach, but JJ was playing the Habana, is now playing very little in an early grave.
Yeah, you're relegated to cam duty, as John likes to say. And you're gonna have to spend pretty much the entirety of this round. You only survived 40 seconds, and you didn't even get into the map. In fact, it's so bad for the Wildcard Aces side to lose that death early. Twizzler on the Amaru with the Garu hook hasn't even made it into the map to work with yet. You could see the Garu hook was being teased up into the top of tower.
He's gonna go.
Twizzler rightfully was gonna drone things out first and foremost, made the right call. Spots away the player, the reinforcement will go up though, and Attic has officially been locked down for the Taken Kings as they have made their great escape, seemingly getting that first blood for free, which I'm sure they will gladly take, but you'll start to see the pressure from the Wildcard Aces roil up elsewhere. Players coming from Master Bedroom, 3 players in the Taken Kings swing wildly, and because of that, the Wildcard Aces have no problem cutting them down instantaneously, now just leaving Wumbo all by their lonesome, and their life is forfeited just as quick. Where is the defense from the Taken Kings?
It seems like they went out to lunch in the middle of the round. They were like, hey, we found an opening kill, let's all go grab some food. Left the site open and their backs turned the wrong way. As somehow, in the span of maybe 15 seconds, 5 separate players die in 4 separate positions to 2 or 3 different people. Technically just 2 guns, G36C and the Mark 14. Not good, to say the very least there for Taken Kings. They overaggressed a little bit and swung everything. I think they forgot they left the team deathmatch warm-up before.
I really hope that's not the case. Either way, the Taken Kings were really getting torn apart yesterday in their series, their final one against Method. They reevaluated their playstyle throughout the entire game, as you are pretty much necessitated to do. The Taken Kings had started off whenever they would push on the attack, they'd go really aggressive, and then they'd fall back to a lot slower of a playstyle. They flipped it around though when it came to their defense. They'd start slow, get an early feeling about how Method would play, and then later stages they'd get a little bit more aggressive on their roam game, on their extensions, and they'd really pry for some early kills, whether or not they were spawn peaks or just really early swings of a player trying to engage into the map in the first place. They've taken the opposite stance here. They've been aggressive in the last 2 rounds quite early. It has only warranted success, and in a very modicum amount for the Taken Kings just in that last round getting first blood, and a great escape after the fact for free. Where's the rest of it? Where's the impact? You get the freebie. Hold on to that. Don't give up too much. You're punishing yourself, shooting yourself in the foot by taking over-aggressive swings through a doorway that you know the Wildcard Aces are going to be watching. This is not the same team you just faced last. This is not going to be a 7-1 route on first map like it was for you in your last series. You need to play a lot smarter on the defense. And for a map like Oregon, if you're losing on the defense, something is going horribly wrong for your team.
And on a consistent basis as well. A lot of these rounds, for instance, the previous really wasn't close. The way in which it finished is my real part of concern here for Taken Kings. Scoob wins the opening fight. I don't know what the heck Twizzler's doing, but they are now, again, relegated to cam duty. Burnt Turkey occupying meeting. This is a lot more of an extension than what we saw from the Silly Geese when the Wildcard Aces played them on this map, where it was basically a competition of who could turtle better on the defensive side. Spoiler alert, it was the Silly Geese. And, oh, okay. Riot just walking in, looking for a second. Bird Turkey's made a decent bit of noise. Have they been heard, though? Just not looking to his side. Riot dies, had the opportunity to both die much earlier and win the fight, but unfortunately it's the former for him.
I'm very impressed with Wildcard Aces. Look how quick they've been to step over into office, into meeting, trying to get in towards kitchen as well. They are taking very aggressive stances, not necessarily going for gunfights, but they're claiming that space very quickly, and it's catching the Taken Kings off guard. JJ tries to hide away, tucked to the corner, connecting over towards Link. Vipo has no problem getting them. It is a refrag though, so it is still the Wildcard Aces stuck in a man deficit. The Taken Kings are still kind of on a prowl. They haven't fully extended back down to the basement just yet. Vipo will be that last lingerer that kind of steps back fully into Freezer. They finally have that solidified defense down into the basement. But Bry has 2 nades, and Bino, I think, still has one more call left of the cams.
Nope, they're out.
I think they've just used that last one just a moment before. That does give the information on rear stage for Bry, saying, hey, players sitting over by pillars, they can take a couple steps back. You need to be ready to push down, but you need a second pincer. And that's where the question's going to rely for Bino. Where are they going to swing from?
I don't think that Bino's actually hacked the cams, because a lot of the times you'd see Taken Kings try and take out those bulletproofs you see on the defensive side. Swing down, nade prepped, first one misses, second one not even gets the opportunity to get thrown out. Bino will finally hack the cams with 20 seconds left, but the problem now is that all that information you could have used, not going to help you by any means. Their position now certainly noted by the defensive side, and a 1v3 with 15 seconds, a toxic babe to make sure they have no way in. This round's over. It's just a matter of whether Bino gets his cost point. I think he won his gunfight earlier. At the best case scenario is stay alive, take a few seconds as a tactical timeout. He doesn't even find a follow-up kill. So, fairly clean finish to the round for Taken Kings. Minor over-aggression in the earlier stages, and the lack of fluid droning for them really came back to bite them. Bino, when there were still 3 players alive, was the only one with a drone remaining. The rest of the 2 players got quickly taken care of, and a lack of information. It's Taken Kings round.
Good job of the Taken Kings defensively. Noted that their escape back down to the basement was allowed to re-solidify their defense. A lot of the problems we saw in round 1 was their inability to make it back down to the basement. The only success they had was down in basement itself when the players are attempting to step in through tarp and through blue. Great crossfire setup there as well, away from E-Box door. They had 2 kills garnered from that. They had the attempted swing in through the box as well. That one didn't necessarily work out. The little things for Taken Kings when they have their normal defense, their standard defense, is working. But when they start to try to change things up, and for a map like Oregon, you may feel like it is okay to do so, but there's a reason why this is the standard maps of standard maps, because the standardization just works. It is truly what it is. Nothing you can do will change it. Tom Howard says it best, it just works. And for the Wildcard Aces, they've had a very standard approach. Aim at their second floor attack, put player up inside big tower, take control over towards attic, have a split with maybe one person by big window. The rest are going to take control of master bedroom, arsenal hall, and work in for the main pincer from north to south. And it just really quickly managed to take down the Taken Kings, because the Taken Kings say, hey, instead of sitting back on our haunches, placing a shield right outside of dorms or kids' room, maybe having 2 players sitting at bottom of attic, maybe have 1 player initially push, and then we'll reinforce after the fact like they did. Let's just swing through the trophy door. Let's just pressure the player outside of balcony and master bedroom. He can't kill all of us. It's not like they have assault rifles on the attack. And I'm sorry to break it to you, the Taken Kings, they do. And you can't do the exact same thing here in this round, and it looks like you're about to do exactly that. Vipoa, how do you survive the trophy shots being sent your way from the upside down rappel? The trophy position has already been squandered for the Taken Kings.
Oh, and Scoob's about to get droned out here. This is a problem for the defensive side. Scoob actually just walks in, has made a decent bit of noise though, so we'll back away. You can see the Kludge drone outline on their right side. It'll be shot, but it will duly note the fact that the mute is getting a minor bit over-aggressive. Nothing to write home about, at least not just yet. And Vipoa is still the only one somehow to take damage. I lied. Jetcon's dead. Bry's barely living, and the EDDs would have ended his life. Luckily, he crosses his T's, dots his I's. Can't say the same for Riot, who's currently caught in a frost mat. This is a problem. Oh, Bino. Oh! He's alive. Whistler's not. What the heck is going on in this round?
Do you want to explain those noises, Dan? Just screw the round.
I'm... what? What? Yeah, see? That was the noises. The shock and awe. I think that's my excuse. Scoob's now in Master Closet, by the way.
I know. Scoob tried to do this right off the rip when the Selmas actually broke the wall in the
He's gonna
first
get
place.
nated.
They tried to...
What?
Right!
What?
Inexcusable! The Taken Kings somehow have been given a 2v1. It was a 3v1 for just a moment. Riot did finally deal with Scoop's dangerous presence inside of walk-in closet. But Burnt Turkey and Wumbo had full HP. And Wumbo's out for blood. Wumbo's angry. They had an interview and they have not felt they've been hurt. And now they're just lying in wait inside Kids Room. Attic as well with the rotate. There's a lot of potential here. Burnt Turkey watching behind White Shelf. With Riot stepping into game room and the noise there of the Dreadnought Mines. It goes free for Burnt Turkey to spray down Riot. No chance they were finding that round after the funny situation. That's the way we'll phrase it. That happened a couple minutes prior at the beginning of that round.
On today's episode of Understatements in the game of Rainbow Six Siege, we have round 4 of this map being a funny situation. That's about where we're at this point. Also, our observer just brought it up. I have no idea what the heck happened, but because a double kill was found at the same time that a random team kill came through, www, not to be confused with a random URL, somehow found a double kill, because that's the thing.
Somebody clip that. Send it to the Ubisoft devs. This is like Riot when you find a game-breaking bug or something like that. They send you like a Riot buddy or something like that. Maybe Ubisoft will employ their own little version of that.
So cool.
That would be really nice.
I'd have like 94.
I'd have a lot of them. From the early days of R6, I would be filled with random little things and trinkets on my guns. Either way, the Taken Kings, after a very rough 2-0 start against them, have managed to surmount a comeback. A good performance in round 3 and a shocking one in round 4, but we won't try to harp on it for too much longer. They're going to fall back here to the tertiary bomb site of choice for them. It's Meeting and Kitchen. And I don't think this is too odd. We have seen the Taken Kings opt for more presence inside Attic as a whole. That obviously didn't succeed for them in round 2, but it did a lot better for them in round 4. So seeing them reattempt this, it's essentially like you're seeing Chalet all over again, where you defend the second floor as if you're defending Kitchen and Dining. It's the same sort of extension, but it's a lot more dangerous for the Taken Kings because they won't have as much utility up top for reinforcements, such as shields, such as ADSs. They're relying a little bit more for that on site itself.
Minor aggression from the defensive side. You can see them trying to extend to the top floor. I think a little bit more than what we saw back when they were trying to play vertically on the bottom floor. They will go to second floor while defending first instead of what we've seen prior. Taken Kings, at that same notion though, you can see they're much more disengaged from the site itself. Bry, for instance, has nobody watching the general vicinity of green, the extent of which actually is a TCSG slug that is trying to hold through a drone hole. Not the most consistent of things to rely on, to say at the very least. Burnt Turkey's position now noted, but they could not care less, at least from visuals. And it seems like Wildcard Aces are prepping a quick rush, but I can't figure out where from, and I have X-ray vision.
Why do you explain your rank then, Dan?
I don't want to talk about it.
Figured. It's all right. I don't want to talk about mine either. Full 5v5. A minute and a half has already elapsed here in this round. Great passivity, honestly, from the Taken Kings. Like I said yesterday, they started out very aggressive and they kind of fell back to a little bit more defense, but that was when it came to their attack. Kind of redoing the opposite here on their defense to start things off. I like the idea for them to go a lot more passive. They do have great foothold still, relocated all the way back over towards Garage. One player has been DBNO'd behind a couch. Unfortunately, I think JetCon may just have to lay down there and rest for the remainder of this round, as it's much too dangerous to swing in and try to clean up for that kill. With Riot up top, sorry, it's Sandbags, I reclaim that. Riot up top, it will be a guaranteed final frag there for the Wildcard Aces, meaning it is only a one-man advantage now in effect for the Taken Kings. Great extension still on the second floor. Wildcard Aces have not dealt with that despite the Attic presence.
Wow.
There's been no safe space for them because they still have to worry about pillar as well as drop of Attic control. And they just lost a player from down below inside Attic. They just have to swing into the breach. They have to try to take control of this entire meeting room with little to no safety net whatsoever. Drone placed for the flank watch. It's cleared. Wildcard Aces forced to watch through hatch, but Bry has little to no HP and turns at the wrong time. Vipoa snuck into the space. They've DBNO'd one. Clean up kill. Riot still on site. Hunts for their first back in, and they have to find two more. One player prowling from Green Hall. Scoob's pretty low on HP, but the drop from Hatch comes through from Wumbo, and it's a 2-player side advantage for the retake. Riot all the way back inside main entrance, spotted from range, but Scoob can't collect, forced to stand as Wumbo, and it's secured. A 1v1 drop to the nil as Wumbo will get the defuse out for the Taken Kings, and they'll break even at minimum for halftime.
Important aspect of that retake for Taken Kings is they took as much ground as they could around the site without actually playing directly on it. The intricacy I think a lot of people may have missed when we switched around towards the main entranceway while they were holding through the garage single door and the single wall as well. Wumbo actually moved up to the attic hatch, was seen by a camera, but then reaggressed to the same position because they knew the Ash was seen earlier and was no longer holding the top floor. That was a lot of ground that the Taken Kings were able to take full advantage of and turn into a much easier retake because they had some redundancy in terms of verticality. They turned that, the man advantage, and the information gathering from the dread mine that was set up from the previously living Fenrir into all the information and the follow-up frags they needed. Nice couple kills as well from Wumbo, who has turned their interview, or single kill actually, has turned their interview into a round victorious and round securing kill for the defuse. And you said it, Taken Kings with the third will lock in at least a tie at halftime.
Ooh, huge comeback to go from 2-0 up to 3-2. Taken Kings defensively have looked a lot better. But we're having to head back down to the basement. This site has been fairly rude for them. I did not like their defensive positioning in round one. I think there was a lot to be desired. I think they came to the same exact conclusion, have to change up the strategy. It worked out for them. Wildcard Aces have shown us two different attacks when it comes down to the basement. They do like to put a player over towards rear stage with pillar control for about the first minute and a half. They then start to put a little bit more concern when it comes towards a freezer and blue tart push. The blue tart push failed in round one off of a great swing for the Taken Kings' two remaining players, and they started to change things up in their second attempt, and that's what fell through in that round. Honestly, when it comes to their attack, with the buck here they're bringing in this round with the pocket breaches, they're going to clear out all of these hatches. They'll go to meeting hall first and foremost. They'll have to swing over towards security. The presence from the Taken King still there in big tower with the option to rotate to rear stage. Your job is not necessarily to kill this Jaeger on that roam of JetCon, but mostly there for job security to force them back down to the basement in the final few moments. It's the kitchen control that worries me here for the Wildcard Aces. It forces them to the second floor, using the skeleton key from Riot to take shots through the floorboard to deny the rotate from Green Hall. And on top of that, it's not even an escape rotate they were necessarily worrying about. The success comes from the attempt to assist your players stuck in kitchen. And JetCon, you just removed the only player in rear stage, the only tower player besides now Burnt Turkey, who's made a great rotate up there from rear stage. You thought you were free, but the drones were not there. And the Wildcard Aces will lose a kill because of it.
They traded positions with Vipoa. Vipoa took a hell of a lot of damage in that first fight. Bino also just dropped him through that rear stage wall, but the information has now been guaranteed as to Burnt Turkey's position. They are well aware of the fact that they basically have a 4v2 on the site directly should they time their take right. Riot also setting up with the skeleton key here. They're going to swing from both angles, through the window as well. Watch for the aggression. You don't even have to. It's a kill picked up for Riot themselves, but Wumbo with the re-aggression will find at least one back onto Bri. The Iona removed, and a single man advantage still only for the Wildcard Aces, while still down around trying to tie.
Right, it's just lingering as best they can. The Wildcard Aces, Dan. The man advantage and still 40 seconds. A huge time bank available for them in the back pocket. They just need to find the locations where the Taken Kings are lying in wait. Plenty of drones as well available to their side. 3 still actively available for transitioning, aka moving. The other ones may be set up for flank watch in case the Taken Kings do decide to step away from sight from an area moment. Tapatel bolts will be sent out and yonder, and the Taken Kings may be forced to take a couple steps away from E-Bots. But it won't deny the opportunity for Scoob and Wumbo to tango in for 2. There goes Riot, Scoob with the Mossberg, and Bino. Things got disastrous for the attacking attempt. What went wrong for Wildcard? They had all the aces up their sleeve, but things went awry the moment they took 2 steps down the stairs.
They just took too many 1v1s. Taken Kings are having so many easy gunfights handed to them because wildcard aces aren't directly playing for trades. Take the final kill, for example. Maybe not the greatest of examples, but the final one nonetheless. You have Bino in a 1 versus 2 swinging around towards the tarp side of dirt, but he has no idea exactly where Scoob is on the site because the communication wasn't there quickly enough, nor apparently did he hear the Mossberg creating rotates. So Scoob swings off the fact that Bino's shooting in a completely different direction, has the perfect timing for the frag, and finds it to secure the Taken Kings round victory. If Scoob doesn't swing there, you have a true 1v1 with Bino up against Jetcon over towards Tarps, and then it could have been turned into another 1v1 against Scoob, but the timing and communication both were there in near perfect succession for the Taken Kings, and they'll put another round on the board, putting a 2-round advantage up and heading onto the attacking side of a map in which wildcard aces have had defensive difficulties in iterations prior of playing this map.
Twizzlers had a tough time here, Dan.
Oh yeah.
0-5. JJ, poor JJ. 1-5 as well. Bino's at least been able to break even for the wildcard aces. One of the big points being happy highlighted just yesterday for the Taken Kings matchup against Method was the fact that Taken Kings statistically won every single map when it came to KDs and still lost map 1 and almost lost map 3. Taken Kings are an extremely strong team when it comes to frag potential. Burnt Turkey is almost always second to third best in their roster. JetCon hard carried map 2. Vipoa absolutely destroyed on map 1. Scoob had a wonderful performance on map 2 as well and did a great job on map 3 just the same. They've got a great roster all across the board. But defensively, I think they're a weaker team when it comes to going for those frags. It would maybe give me the idea that taking the lead at halftime should give them an advantage on the attack, but they're already down a man. Vipoa scrambling by with that Nook that was left unbanned in the veto phase, thanks to the Taken Kings removing instead the Ying, as well as the wildcard aces taking out the Flores. Unfortunately for them, the Nooks, nades, nor the kit in general weren't them any success, and you're down a man right off the rip. And the wildcard aces make a very hasty retreat back down to the basement where they can tuck her up and away and stay safe.
PSA, if you are playing on the Nook and you have your hell presence reduction engaged and you're being observed, please don't die. It means the observer has a bug for the rest of the round. That explains the yellow flashing you see all around your screen for all of you wondering what the heck is happening. No, it's not your monitor. It is a game bug that, again, should get me some cool stuff from Ubisoft for pointing out, because I've noticed this.
Please do.
Yeah.
It's not game breaking though,
fix.
sorry.
It's visually unappealing. Let's put it that
disgusting.
way.
Yes.
It is. But Wildcard's defense has been more than happy to just back away. That opening pick has just encouraged them to do so even more. And they still have a decent bit of utility, 2 C4s available, and a couple Dread Mines as well, one of them being reactivated over here towards Laundry, and actually turning into a kill as Bino's able to find Wumbo. Scoob dropping into E-Box, almost dying, actually does after JJ swings him, and with Bino's C4, it leaves Burnt Turkey in a 1 versus 4. No easy way in here for the Habana, their position noted again via that Mira, but he still finds a follow-up kill on a Riot, finally removing that Fenrir from contention.
Bino's just lagging back as far as they possibly can. Interesting idea from Bride to aggress behind Stack inside Freezer, right next to door. Teammate not far behind them either. Flash tossed quite deep. The attempt to run in for Burnt Turkey unfortunately falls short as Bride, like I said, tucked behind boxes, will find themselves a much-needed kill. And will close out the round in favor of the first defensive round win for the Wildcard Aces to get a little bit of a chance at closing that buffer, the 2-round buffer the Taken Kings had given themselves going forward to at the halftime switch. And that was definitely not the best possible look for the Taken Kings coming in on the attack. Fortunately for them, saving graces aside, that was the basement site where arguably it is the easiest objective to play on for the defense. Now they're going to head up to the second objective of choice, the kids and dorms side, where the Taken Kings struggled on their defensive attempts. But to be fair, they had also struggled on the basement, so it's hard really pressed to say what side's the best when it comes to this map right now. Statistically, it's meeting.
Yeah, which is the weirdest possible thing, by the way. I think that's happened, at least thus far in this map, barring maybe some round outcomes, at least in the way in which they can't.
Barring maybe Bry self-nading.
Yeah, that also applies. I mean, Bry was low HP, so sometimes you nade that, you keep your distance, but you're like, oh, I'm 110 health. If I take 20 or 30 damage here, it's not going to be the end of me. It was. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the rest of this map already. I like to use kids, dorms, and dorms main hall as the litmus test for a defensive side. If it's a close round or they win, they're going to have a fairly good defense because the bottom floor isn't the greatest of indicators. You said it, it's one of the easiest defensive sites on Oregon, if not one of the easiest defensive sites in the game to hold down. And sometimes a team will win it in dominant fashion just because the other team either throws or they had a very niche strat, what have you. This one is a very nice site just to see how they flex around having to play vertically from below, especially considering how odd those types of extensions can be.
Drone game seemingly going strong for the Taken Kings. 30 seconds in, having only lost 2 to this point. Feels like they've gained enough job security over towards Small Tower. They feel it's maybe about time to start to control that space. I think for the Taken Kings, you get Small Tower, you move up towards Big Window, or maybe you try to work in specifically up White Stairs, but the only player that really has the safety or space to do so would have to be your Nook. And unfortunately, JetCon has had a pretty tough start when it came to their attempted entries in here. The same thing can be said for Scoob, who was dusted right off the rip here in this round. Thankfully, with Twizzler off the board, it's down to an even 4-on-4. 2 minutes still left here in the round. Bry lagging down below on Freezer Stairs. No one in Zulu, but still that presence towards Small Tower.
Right!
Just how quickly they get spotted. They're in security now. Great transition for JetCon, and the FMG9 rips through Bry's HP pool, what's remaining, and gives Taken Kings their first man advantage here in this round to try to garner back a little bit of success. And with that games room wall opened and Riot really not having any comfortable spot to be sitting around in, this could be a good opportunity for the Taken Kings to take some space, but they can't find the net to do so. Bino rips through with a 9mm, gets one, return fire, but Riot has to refrag back once again. A 2-on-2, JetCon top of White Stairs. Riot is not done as they'll rip through yet another target at the end of their crosshair, leaving Wumbo all by their lonesome inside Arsenal Hall. What can they do?
Why does he use the logic bomb so far away from the other team? Just walk up main stairs, then use it, try and gain some information off of it. It basically just prevents them from pushing for a few extra seconds. Toxic Babe thrown out. Wumbo's now aggressing. They don't care about the diffuser. He wants to play for the fights. The position of one now noted, the second now seen, but a decent bit of damage taken in response to the information handed over, and JJ turning their purview over towards the main master walk-in. The position now known of Wumbo as they walk in. Position heard. Every sound cue possible given over, and Riot will cleanly swing for the kill. Had support from the side anyway, and that's exactly what you were looking for if you're seeing this from the Wildcard Aces side. A decent round, not a clean one by any means, but one they desperately needed to tie things up and set the tone in the second round of the defensive side.
Wildcard Ace is saying defense can be fairly easy if you know what you're doing. The Taken Kings squandered their first 2 attempted rounds, and the Wildcard Aces said, we're not going to do the same. That would put you at 6. That would be a horrible showcase for us. We don't want to even it out. We're going to go ahead and even it up as fast as humanly possible. 4-4, our total score line up to this point. What a round for Riot. Talk about the versatility and mobility for this player who was stuck in a very tight spot. With your player, Bry, that was trying to walk down the bottom stairs. You're trying to use the Solus to their success. Getting cut down on their attempt back up from Freezer Staircase from your FMG9 wielder Nook, stepping out from security. You also had the concern from Small Tower in the first place. A lot of issues were garnered. Where are they going to push top of White Stairs? Are they going to try to go in through that games room window that just got hard breached? You're forced to rotate back and forth. Riot did a wonderful job of that. Initially stepping over towards the split side between both objectives, turns around towards top of White Stairs, removes the player pressuring there, the Nook that you're so concerned about. JetCon out of the equation. Turn the other way, step over towards that dorm side, get another shot connecting back over towards the games room opening, as well as over towards Attic as well to assist for the follow-up after you lost your Attic friend. And then just sit behind bunk bed. The perfect play for the Wildcard Aces. Riot is everywhere, finding kills galore. That can't happen every round. The Taken Kings are going to be very concerned as it looks like a spawn peak maybe brewing up for the Wildcard Aces when it comes over towards Big Tower.
Riot playing fairly aggressive over here towards the Small Tower side. I like this level of aggression we're seeing from the Wildcard Aces. They're switching a few things up on that defense. You can see Showers is extremely broken apart, allowing for that aggressive nature to finally set in. Can opener going to be used over towards the master wall just to at least accelerate some of this top floor clearance, force wildcard aces to condense a small amount on their defensive setup. And I think most importantly, allow Taken Kings some versatility. If they want to hold a crossfire, they now have the opportunity to do so. If they want to at least aggress in this direction, they have two separate avenues of attack. And now, as they look to aggress over towards white, they may have that same possibility. Vipoa very narrowly having to take a fight there with JJ, of whom thinks a little bit better of it, but is still aware that this could be a possibility for the attack to walk through.
Twizzler's taking a very aggressive stance, still inside attic, knows that the breach has been opened up with the pocket breach, just trying to work in from there as best they can. Bipolar go ahead and leap through the opening they've created, and unfortunately for them, Twizzler at range. Nary a problem whatsoever. Man advantage back in favor here for the defense. Taken Kings have squandered their first opportunity. They've at least changed up their attacking stance. Pressuring in and breaching open games room wall, typically even attic side control as well. But Scoop over on big window at least denies the possibility of Riot still sitting in the same exact space they were just last round, with NMP5 was already such a huge issue beforehand. Bird Turkey, dusted by Bino, Jetcon with the slowest swing humanly imaginable. Their head spotted for a good 1 to 2 seconds before they could even fire back. It's a kill for JJ. Brian removed from the equation, and the same thing will be said for Wumbo and Riot, as Scoob as the last man standing is forced to cut down 4 players in general here in this round. There's still 3 more that they have to cut through in the final 40 seconds here, Dan.
Twizzler found that kill across onto the front side, through the wall, by the way. Nice second from Scoob. This now becomes more than possible. Both players are nowhere near the kitchen site. The difficulty is, with the diffuser being dropped because of the kill from Twizzler, there's a decent bit of time between Scoob gathering the diffuser and having even an opportunity to put it down. You can see Wildcard Aces very slowly playing this defensive setup. Both of them fairly far removed, but the information gained off the Dread Mine will trigger both players to get a small amount more aggressive. Time is of the essence, though, and Scoob needs to initiate this diffuse plant, because as the time starts to run out, the aggression is very well warranted for the defense, and the Rip C4 masks the sound cue, forces Scoob to take another fight, but he just does not have the time. Would have been better off for the diffuse initiation, thinks better of it, only to his own demise, as Wildcard complete the rotation and take the lead here on Oregon.
The disrespect from the Wildcard Aces there. The statement is pros don't fake. You've got to expect to stick it the whole way down and rush them down, at least toss out that nitro cell. The Wildcard Aces say, okay, if he doesn't stick it, it's whatever. If he does stick it, it's whatever. We'll just close in that space immediately after the fact. They did not even care. If the diffuser was going to go down, the pros don't fake scenario did not match their anticipation. I don't think the Taken Kings are pros whatsoever. The round result at the end of the day falls to the defensive side. 5-4 are split, and the Taken Kings have gone silent since the halftime turn. Attack has been horrendous for them. A couple close calls, but my goodness, Dan, the defining storyline for this entire defense, the Wildcard Aces, is most of these rounds end up turning into a 4v2. Taken Kings can't get a free kill. They can't even get a refrag to save their life.
Oh, no. I don't... Oh... Well, welcome to Tech Issues. They are occasionally unavoidable. Our apologies. You saw it in the all chat. JJ crashed. We tried to pause it, but when the little infinity symbol shows up at the top, that means the round's already loading in. No way to pause it and get things stopped to allow JJ to get back, so we're going to get things rehosted in the background. While we actually have a second, though, I think now is a perfect time to take advantage of a few things. Number 1, the Summer Series. Not the Summer Splash, as it says right up there, but the Summer Series for Game Rogue, being announced on Twitter just a couple weeks ago, now starting in a couple weekends. Qualifiers are the 15th and 16th, by the way, and the 21st and 22nd. Now is a good time to address how things are going to go. For this match specifically, we're going to get things restarted, but you have back-to-back open qualifiers, of which the top 5 from each make it into the Swiss stage. You have a 5-day Swiss, or an extended Swiss. The exact format is to be determined on the back end. Some admin issues. They are still deciding things over there. Not my job. And the playoffs in the first week of August and second week of August to play out as well. I gotta say, I'm pretty excited, if I do say so myself.
Our 6th. What's there not to be excited about? The only thing we cannot be excited about is finding game-breaking bugs and Ubisoft not giving us a sweet little gun buddy to go alongside it at the end of the day. We'll get back on topic here for the game as a whole, Dan. The defense has been pretty darn rough. Just in general, when it came to the start for the first two, for the Taken Kings, they obviously had a great comeback. But playing against the defense when teams have an understanding of each other is impossible for a map like Oregon. It's so defender favored when you know what they're going to do, when you can sit in your safe spaces, when you don't make really egregious mistakes like the Taken Kings did in their first two rounds. They hadn't given away that first one with the over aggressiveness, still refusing to drop down back to basement. And they hadn't given up the second round by just swinging 3 players, might I add, through attic breach that was opened up, as well as straight in through Arsenal's door connecting to master bedroom. They would have maybe been a different story. But that was not the case. The standard approach from any attempt from the Wildcard Aces was just so easy for them to remove the Taken Kings. Flipped on its head, it's the total opposite story. The Taken Kings in the attack look terrible right now. They're losing first bloods. When they do get a refrag back, that opens up 2 to 3 more opportunities for the wildcard side, and they can't find the space to manage a refrag in return. They have 3 players left in a 4v3. I think it's manageable. But 9 times out of 10 that we've seen so far, it has been 4 versus 2. It's been loss after loss of life stepping into the building, and it's just been a really bad attack from them. And I think it starts and ends with their entries. Well, once you lose that, the game plan has to shift. It's not over once your Nook is dead. There's a second stage to it. Rotate another player there, put drones there instead, give up that avenue, but at least stop that avenue from being really approached by the defense. And it just seems lacking from their side.
I have to also point out the fact that the defensive side of Wildcard Aces has had a lot more flexibilities about how they're playing. I was talking about the top floor being the real litmus test. It's because it then becomes the inverse when they go to meeting and kitchen, assuming, of course, they win that round. They played both sites not to near perfection. There were, of course, weaknesses on both sides, but they were able to fluidly make up for where the gaps lie. There's a TV show I watch called SWAT. And the main character always says, stay fluid. It basically means fill in the gaps if you ever need to find them, because Liquid does just that. Stay liquid, stay fluid. It's a good defensive setup, and it's exactly how Wildcard have been playing on their defense, making sure that anytime there is a weakness, somebody's there to make up for it.
You ever hear of fabric that's not cuttable or like not snappable or anything? Like you can repair the fabric, self-repairing fabric. It's not actually self-repairing, guys. Not to break the illusion for you. Essentially, the fabric weaves are so tight that when you repress on the fabric, they just remesh to their original form. Whatever poked a hole into it just pushed all the fabric aside to create that hole. It didn't cut or tear anything in the process. That's the way your defense should be. You find a hole gets found out by the attack, you cut it, nip it in the bud, and you refill that gap. And that is exactly what we're seeing from the defense here. It was notably absent in round 1 and 2 from the Taken Kings. They did a much better job. Round 4 was a gorgeous display for them to do exactly that. They reclaimed space in meeting, but everything else from their attack is showing that, honestly, it looks just plain and simple that Wildcard are better at that job. They're a more fluid team. They're as a whole finding more easier picks, and it's not from being over aggressive. In fact, their roam game, their extenders, they're losing most of those fights. They maybe get one before getting refragged. That's where they're getting their loss of life early. The players on site, they're taking advantage of their ability to pivot from one angle to another and the utility they've set up behind it. They're trusting in those gaps, and there's just been nowhere to poke and prod for the Taken Kings, and it's just every face that comes around a corner gets ripped clean off of it.
Seems like we've gotten things solved in the back end. Everybody's back in the lobby, everybody's game is now functioning, and everybody's computer is now on and connected to the internet. So we're gonna get things back underway as we've finally gotten the rehost taken care of. Massive shout out, by the way, to our observer Fallen Griffin, sustaining things all throughout today and yesterday on Fets Fiesta, if you were unfamiliar. And of course, yesterday, Max went over to Fets Fiesta, sponsored by Game Rogue. We saw things finish over there. I believe Reality TV won the grand finals over on that stream. By the time that stream ended, I had exited stage left, was going to eat food, had a nice little break. But as we move into the game, seems like we are good to go and finally get into our 10th round of play. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but we have resumed. Insert yay soundtrack.
Insert the soundboard clapping from the 1970s TV show audience. Which statistically
Honestly.
speaking, all of those individuals that are clapping in those things, those soundtracks, the noise you hear, and even modern TV shows to this day, all recorded in the 60s and 70s. So statistically, they're likely dead.
Yeah.
You are hearing the claps of ghosts, essentially, right? Very sad thing to think about, but it's also kind of ironic or funny in its own little way. But why don't we just record new ones? I'm not too sure. But speaking of recording, we've got a live stream going on here, and these players are, I don't know, not really giving us much here for the record. Taking Kings a rough show for their attack. They're going to have to re-attempt down to the basement, and right when they're saying, hey, we really need something to come back into it, they've got to head back to the worst objective to try to attack too.
On the bright side, if you're looking at this from the wildcard half, your momentum's gone, but it's like a fresh reset. You have already played all 3 of your defensive rounds. You've done so successfully. You have some inkling as to how you want to play them. A 6 or 7 minute delay may not be the end of the world for you, but I think it's still an important aspect to try and bring back that momentum that you had ever so deservedly built up over the last small amount of time. Taking Kings on their side, you can say the exact same thing for them, but in a different way. This time allows for their momentum to maybe reset, them to reevaluate how they were having to play on that attacking half, and maybe some notable changes to be identified and hopefully instituted into this round.
Skeleton key used for JetCon to breach into the master bedroom side. Typically, you don't expect an extension for the defensive players all the way up to the 2nd floor. If you anticipate it, it's a player sitting inside of kids' room, waiting to drop down hatch maybe over towards kitchen or more so towards attic, so they have to rotate down rear stage and down towards basement. The wildcard aces, I think that was where they initially played, was attic. You hear a lot of noise. Skeleton key is fairly loud, can be heard mostly throughout that 2nd floor because you have a lot of inclination for where they're arriving from. And they're going to go ahead and retreat back down to that basement side. Wildcard aces are a lot quicker to reset up on the basement. Last time we saw them, the very first round of this second half in round 7, the wildcard aces, 30 seconds in, we're all back down to the basement to turtle up and sit there and wait for the Taken Kings, which is a totally different strategy than the Taken Kings attempted in their round 1. They lost 3 players up on the 1st floor alone. And then their second attempt here for the defense, where they essentially did the same thing, but actually came out with some success before they actually came back and turtled. I think the wildcard aces realize the best plan is to not allow them into the basement. That's not the plan. The plan is to buy as much time as possible and then get back safely.
Patience as well from Wildcard. We've seen this before. Unfortunately, not as much there for JJ, who's quickly felled by Scoob. Decent bit of damage returned in a second attempt here for Twiz, but the difficulty still remains for this Wildcard Ace's side. That's a lot of your denial gone. The extent of now your plant denial, if you can even consider that, is a C4 available. What a shot from a Twizzler, though. Tucked into the corner, dropped him from the highway door, and brings things back to a 4v4 and a much more attainable round here for the Wildcard Aces, especially with even more control established.
Wumbo with a great space, following quickly behind Vipoa. Gemini Replicator is ready should they feel it necessary in the final 40 seconds to gather a little bit more information. The bunker having been solidified and restructured there with the reinforcements. Wildcard Aces have a great spot to sit back further towards laundry room for a long shot from Bry. It connects. JetCon trying to move around pillars will pay the ultimate price. Their life forfeited. Wumbo working in from breach, very wary that a player is up on the 1st floor, worrying that maybe their drone game was not good enough. Twizzler having a refrag back from Vipoa, who just took down Riot. It's still the man advantage to the Wildcard Aces. They're trying to step in through E-Box door. They'll lose one more, and Wumbo will fall once again. Beto with a 2-down spray. The Vector finding all but success, and it is still now the wildcard side dominating in this second half. It is their map pick. But my goodness, Dan, it is Oregon. This is everyone's map pick.
The attacking side for Taken Kings look like they really haven't played this map in a little while. I was looking at the top of the screen, or some of the new additions for Rainbow Six, where you show how much secondary utility is available for both sides. Taken Kings had 0, I will remind you, 0 secondary utility as they tried to walk into the site itself with about 30 seconds left. They dedicated all 6 of their flashes, both of their nades, the hard breach charges, and both smokes, just to get around the site. Not in it, not to gain full control of it, just to get, close enough. And the round itself did not indicate that that worked by any means. Not only that, but close enough was nowhere near good enough for them as well. Wildcard Aces were happy to just, again, back away, force them in, bait them in with utility, and then converge upon them when they had a lack thereof. It worked, again, you said it, to near perfection. Wildcard Aces' defense just enveloped on them, and Taken Kings had nothing left.
Honestly, very impressed with the passivity from the Wildcard Aces in the final few moments. Taken Kings realized, hey, the dumpage of utility we've been trying to work with, we're really just pandering into one side. The moment they tried to diversify their approach, Dan, by stepping in through Pillar Door and taking Main Hall, they got screwed. Shot connecting from Laundry when they eventually did take down that player. Shot from inside Freezer. 2 angles from the Wildcard Aces. And if they're refragging and forced to play for the refrag, the Taken Kings are going to lose that. They were already a man down. They lose the initial gunfights, you're doomed to lose the round because the Wildcard Aces are a punishing team. Speaking of that punishment, the extension the Taken Kings had opted for up towards Big Tower, the Wildcard Aces are going to do the exact same thing. They'll get up with the rappel up to top Big Tower, close on in. Attic is forced to be locked in and shut down. No more visitors here. Close the border. They're going to say, hey, you can try to make your way in, but you're going to have to take a life. And the Taken Kings say, hey, gladly. There goes Twizzler. First blood finally for the Taken Kings attack.
And dropping down the Solus as well, a decent bit of a response still available, but they will not know at all where the IQ may lie at any way, and nor any point in this round. JJ brings one back onto JetCon, and dropping that Iana in fairly quick time. I have to point out, Wildcard Aces, again, just backing away. They've given up most of Attic, if not actually all of it, bar Trench that's being held from the rotate. Bino looking for the kill onto the aforementioned IQ, who's about to swing this, by the way, and will win the fight at that. What a shot onto Bino. Looking for a second. Is everybody going to swing him? They will! And they'll die! A double from Scoob, and a 2v4 for Wildcard.
The shots from Attic have to be perfect from the Taken Kings. They've been gifted freebies from the Wildcard Aces, re-aggressing when they necessarily shouldn't. Riot having to save the day, but can't. Wumbo, the only food they can feast upon as burnt turkey fires back. Perfect for the Taken Kings. They needed a round. It just required absolutely everything, man, to get there at the end of the day. 6-5. Wildcard Aces still kept at bay from the ultimate round they need to send us into map 2. The Taken Kings are saying to everybody out there, your channel points aren't for nothing. We're still in this one, and that's kind of a shocker considering what we saw before the break in the first place for that rehost. It did not seem like they were participating.
Hey, they finally left their team deathmatch warm-up game. Hey. I was talking about in round 2.
It did require them to crash first.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it's an excuse. I think that's how you get a longer tactical timeout nowadays. I'm kidding. That's not actually what they did. We promise you. Mainly because it was JJ that crashed, not them. But and a notable aspect, actually, Riot is on 90 health now. They're given 110 with 5 health taken every time they run into a wall. But the fact that they're using so many Rima dashes while not having what is usually a Thunderbird or a Doc to bring them back up to full HP, usually you see that. Or you just see the shotguns, of which they have 3, by the way, used to just create rotates, or the impacts, of which they have 4.
What's up with Bailey?
Yeah.
How much time are you trying to save in your prep there, by wasting a good portion of your HP? Orcs' whole purpose is to just be really loud across the map.
JJ's spawn peak finally worked. Only took him
The worst round imaginable for Taken King.
Oh, and they lost their Hibana. That's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
Now they're double split where they try to take control over towards Master Bedroom Games wall, or just in general, they'll have to breach down the meeting place wall. Thankfully, I think the northern side was, I'd say western side was left soft in this stance, but you still want to breach down both sides. You want the easier side to work with. You no longer have the ability to get in through Attic from anywhere else but Attic double wall. This puts JJ in a bad spot. Honestly, I think that forces JJ back faster than it would have if they took control of Big Tower.
They actually have taken control of Big Tower. Scoob playing in the Yomaru, I believe, is in T3 right now. and they've just dropped to take damage. Scoob is actually just going to walk in here. They should have been heard from through meeting. There should be more than enough information for this actual on-site hold. But a Scoob, looking for the fight, dies. There goes that pressure. That's such a difficult position now for Taken Kings. And JJ said it best. That's about the position the Taken Kings are in right now.
Yeah, it's a bad spot. It's definitely not where you want to be. Things don't smell so good right now for the Taken Kings. Vipoa from up above the dining side, or kitchen side, I apologize. Just squeak kill in through hatch. Riot's waiting back as best they can. That's not the ones that give you the buddies. It's just the player. Don't misconstrue it. Jetcon will rotate to the rest of the team. It's a very hot drop in through that kitchen hatch. They're going to try to take full control of the situation. Briar trying to use that Solus utility to spot if they're going for a plant as of this moment. Don't spot anything too sure yet. Riot missing the shots. It's going to pay off. The Taken Kings get 2 kills seemingly for free. They'll pay the price of 1. A good ticketed mission, but Vipoa's going brazy. There goes another one. 3 kills in the round, and Jetcon rips through JJ. The round is over. And the Taken Kings say, we're not done on Oregon.
Round over. Map, not so much. OT is required. And what a better fashion to do it. Seemingly the entirety of this tournament, on stream at least, has been close and contentious maps. And that is not going to stop into the grand final. Wildcard Aces had more than an opportunity to pick that one up in 2 separate engagements. But Minor over aggression, with more than enough time left on the clock, they didn't have to. They didn't have to swing everything. They could have just played passively and condensed as a squad. But they basically gave 3 or 4 separate 1v1s in the 4v3. For all of you unfamiliar, that's not a good strat. And now, Wildcard Aces have to face the punishment, that being overtime.
Interestingly enough, the Taken Kings brought a strange strategy out of their hat here, Dan. I'm honestly amazed. It's like they think this is a Rainbow Six game, like it's a Tom Clancy's game. They dropped through 3 players in hatch. Each of them is watching a different angle. I'd say the one angle they left up was purely just the player trying to swing in from dining. And yeah, arguably that should have gone in favor of the Wildcard Aces, because I was over in that hall. Why they get away with that for free, I'm not sure. But if Riot had just cleaned up for the kills onto the Lion of Vipoa would not have been given their 3rd kill, which would have made it near impossible for Jetcon to find the final frag. They would have had to take down 2, and with the diversified angle, a double swing for the Wildcard Aces would have been disastrous. Taken Kings get away with it. I'll be honest here, that was a shocker. The Wildcard Aces are seemingly still recoiling from that one. 2 players are now down from this lobby. The first to fix an FPS bug, the second one, I don't even know at this point. JJ crashed the second time. Did they get 2 of those?
I don't think they get 2 rehosts, but they should be able to rejoin, because this is now a technical pause, of which is a completely separate timer and measurement tool. So they should be okay, as long as JJ, starts their game in the next 10 minutes. By the way, there is a 10-minute timer set by the game, not by us, unfortunately enough. So if JJ is not back here in that time, or the FPS bug is not solved in the same time, then Wildcard Aces will have to start and will not have a choice to do so by us or by the game to play 3, 4, or 5v5. Interesting situation, but one that they may very well have to deal with. I'm also going to say my bad. I somehow caster's cursed whether we were going to have technical issues. So while we try and take care of those, we're going to send things to a break. And when we come back, maybe the culmination of Oregon, or maybe just a 3v5 in OT. We'll find out when we return.
Ooh, Dan. I'm very disappointed in you, to be brutally honest here. If there's one thing casters are known for, beyond just esports, it is caster's curse. So much so that British commentary for football says commentator's curse. We say the same thing in American football as well, as a broadcaster's curse. It is a widespread phrase, and you have managed to bring it out here. So if there's one thing I would like to say before the next Game Rogue event, please do not have Dan into the booth. Do not have him speak.
I'm apparently allowed to cast. I just can't say anything. I'm apparently allowed to cast. I just cannot say anything. I literally said as we started this, yeah, all the teams that have had tech issues, they're eliminated. And now Wildcard has an FPS bug and 2 separate game crashes in a single map. My bad. But honestly, Wildcard, you should have won already, so you're bad. It's their fault, not mine. They should have won 7-5.
Someone clip that.
Totally not my fault. They should have. They would probably agree with me.
Parts. Wildcard, you're bad. Just clip that part right there and let's take it out of context. I would say you could upload it to Twitter, but no one would see it since we're all data limited.
Means you're chronically online. I've probably read maybe 50 tweets today. I've also been casting all day.
I was reading a huge breakdown about how the movie Airplanes came to be.
What?
And it was a 43 post thread. This one,
oh my
I don't
god!
know, so this one company. I use like all of my data limit for Twitter. I do not regret it. That movie is amazing, and I know so many facts about it now, and also who they had initially cast for the roles and did not make it into. But speaking of casting for the roles, we get a game to cast right here. As the round is already going underway, the Taken Kings have managed to create a couple openings in Rare Stage and Blue Tarp, more specifically, but a player lying down inside a bunker and player lying over towards Harry Potter as well as towards Pillar will make things very difficult for them as they attempt to step in towards sight.
This seems like one of those rounds where they set up so many different avenues of aggression. Everybody sits on one, and then somebody presses a go button, and everybody does just that. A Gone 6 may very well be used by somebody to open up the dirt double door and have the blitz of Scoob run in. I have a sneaking feeling that's exactly what's going to happen. There's 90 seconds left in this round. Wumbo's now made the rotation over, and Scoob has made very little noise on the blitz. Usually it's very easy to figure out when a blitz is coming through, but here comes that aggression, and the feat found by Riot gives them an opening kill on the defensive side. A second on a Burnt Turkey as a C4 lands to his own demise. A follow-up Toxic Babe to exile by Poa, and a 1v5 in the span of 15 seconds leaves him alone on an island and with no ability to use the adrenal surges because he takes double the damage from the Toxic Babes that sit in front of him.
Hey, you have utility, go ahead and use it. Why not? It's not the worst thing in the world. It'll be okay. By Poa, left in an island. They're gonna have to beat their own rock here. They get 1 kill, so they at least deny the Wildcard Aces from getting a flawless round result at the end of the day. But that's it. A gorgeous round for their defense. I think they heard the Blitz shield coming in from construction side down in towards barrels. That's why you saw them not hiding behind a shield inside bunker, but actually prone in the very back corner, the obvious corner of bunker. And the Wildcard Aces should have been droned out. Where was the drone from the Taken Kings? Were they trying to make it a total surprise? God 6 out the barricade and just rush in as fast as possible with zero information you did not know, and they apparently did. They knew you had a shield. They were waiting for it to come forward. They were waiting to see those feetsies, and they did exactly that. Went straight through you, and the rest of the team was doomed to fall quickly after that fact too, because your countdown was mismanaged, and everyone was waiting for the Wildcard Aces defense.
Taking a little bit of an in-depth look at this defensive setup, we've seen Mira played a lot for the Wildcard Aces, but I think most notable part of this defense for me on the Taken King side is the freezer wall. It is fully opened at a crouch-ish level when you take a look at how they're playing for rotations. Usually you open the right side, you try to open the left side, and you put a Mira on it, or in this case, you open left, close right with a reinforcement, and put a Mira on it from that point of view. That's not the case for Taken Kings. They don't even reinforce it. They're basically leaving it wide open. Burnt Turkey, from the looks of it, either wants to open up the security hatch or accidentally almost did so with his bailiff. That would have been hilarious if he went around and tried to reinforce it and it wasn't even there. But luckily, I think he's okay. Is he going to open it? Did he just not forget?
Great reload animation there for the clear.
What the? welcome to Rainbow Six Siege. I guess that looked so weird.
That is a spectator.
I heard
bug,
our
and
observer.
It's an attempt to catch up, but it's desyncing.
I heard our observer go, "What?" And
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing.
Not even the observer knows what's going on for this one. Yeah, I truly, the Taken King strategy, I think is going to revolve very heavily about Freezer. If you have a player inside Freezer door behind, ammo box, behind, stack in general, then you can leave open the bunker wall. Because you can have that player swing from there. Because theoretically, while it does split the objectives in half, and arguably you'd say that's a really bad thing to have, it also makes it so that it's too tantalizing of a reward for the wildcard aces that they have to take that route. And that's where you would go in and punish them. Burnt Turkey knows one of their dread mines have gone off in the distance. Dining is the angle at which Bry was just felled to that utility. But the short-sighted nature of it, a lot like a paranoia inval, doesn't last forever, and they are totally fine now. Burnt Turkey way too late to the fight. And it will still be the Taken Kings at a man disadvantage with match point here on the line still as we're into our second round of OT.
So much patience from Wildcard as well. They are all just holding their angles, allowing those who are tasked with doing so to find as much information as humanly, or in some of their cases, inhumanly possible, considering some of the show-ups here between individual player pop-offs. Vipoa, already forced back, does not want to contend with the what would be vertical pressure of the Buck. And with less than or just about a minute remaining for this defense, they still have some utility to work with. Toxic Babes, a few Dread Mines, sure. But with more than enough information gathering available, secondary utility available, and, most notably, man advantage available, I have no way to say Taken Kings are safe anywhere on this bottom floor.
One saving grace is that there's only 40 seconds remaining, which means wildcard aces will be forced to step in. Their countdown should be fairly obvious for the Taken Kings, and they can work to counteract from there. Player and Harry Potter, they've been spotted. Drop in from Ryan, rinses them from the E-box hatch, and they've dropped in fairly safely towards Boiler. Scoob with the Mossberg will catch one, hunting for more, but they lose their teammate at Burnt Turkey off screen. A wild swing there from the E-box door. They'll have to move towards Halls. Vipoa in a firefight for their life. The Mossberg finds a DB&O. They SMG-11 can't find another, though. And the round will fall to the wildcard aces as they'll take their map pick in a tumultuous affair on Oregon in an 8-6 victory. This is looking a lot like yesterday for the Taken Kings, losing in OT 2-0 to lose the first map like they did against Method.
Not the greatest of showings. Obviously, improvements could have been there, but when you really look at how this map ended, it came down to Wildcard on that defensive side just being a consistent bane of existence. Sure, they had some weaknesses in the later stages. A 4-2 split for both sides, you really can't say one was better than the other. But when overtime